Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 234. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on Google+, on the Facebook group Dumb SEO Questions, and you can also ask an SEO question on Twitter using the handle Dumb SEO QS. Okay, with us tonight we have Bob Jones from Western Australia. Bob ran an agency in Perth. Was it Perth, Bob? Yep, and now he's doing it in a different way. We hope that Bob will be with us for a while. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He's also a Google top contributor on the AdSense community. And Tim Capper is CEO of onlineownership.com. He's a conversion rate optimization specialist. He is also a Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. All right, our first question is from somebody who said, Google News de-indexed my pages. I think this is a normal occurrence, but anyway, Ahmed Kumar said, hi, I have a news website and my news index in Google News. When my news index in Google News on a specific topic, which has only 2 news in that section or topic, and we start getting users or traffic from Google News at the rate of 50 or 70 plus, but then suddenly my news disappears from that section or topic after some time. This happens so many times with me. Is there any particular reason behind this? Thanks.
First thing I would say is, did you apply to have your news in? Because there's certain things that you have to have now, specifically with your site or your news section, if it wants to be included within Google News. So that's my first thing. Did you apply? If you did apply, have they updated their specifications and you didn't get the memo and forgot to include the news sections? Yeah, so that's your first place to start, is applying for it, and then to see what they come back with.
Yeah, isn't it also some like news items hit the index while they're topical, while they're fresh, and then they're just as quickly dropped again?
Well, you'll see, like, for example, I was looking at a site's search console the other day, and Google even flagged up in the news sitemap. They even put a specific link, say, directing you to their specific section for Google News, what is required, etc., etc. De-index the site, index without ever even the news section, without even it has to conform. You have to apply, and not every site in Google News can get in.
Yeah. All right, Ahmed Kumar, I hope that's the answer you're looking for. I hope it's been useful. Let's move on to the next question. This one from Greg Christan. He said in a question titled, Google Search Console does not show main category pages. He said, I work for a large e-commerce site and we use Google Search Console. However, I only get homepage traffic data and some individual product page data in the search analytics section. Google Search Console does not show the main category pages like brackets, men's, women's, sale, etc., which is hard to believe since they are always in the top 5 organic traffic pages, according to Google Analytics. I've never come across this problem, so I wanted to ask the community if anyone has experienced this with their Search Console, and if so, what did you do to fix it? Thanks.
I've never seen it, so I don't have an answer for this one.
Okay, so trying to understand this. So firstly, obviously those pages are indexed, and I'm assuming those pages are within map, and they are also listed in the crawled or pages that have been indexed. So I'm assuming those are in there, right? Now, so you mean that you're not getting data on the actual pages themselves. So when you filter by pages, those top performing ones aren't actually in your the page filter in search analytics. Let's see. Why could that be? Yeah, right. No, actually, obvious thing would be where's your tracking code? Obvious question. Just double check on that.
Tracking code, though,
Actually,
wouldn't that apply to analytics? I mean, you don't need tracking code for data in Google Search Console, do you?
oh, you can connect the two, but if it didn't, if for example if for example the analytics tracking code gets moved out of the head and into the body or the footer, yeah, or into the body, then that breaks your Search Console, because Search Console needs it in the head. So what you can do is if somebody's moved it into the body, for example, a developer, then you need to add obviously Search Console gives you different things. But if you did connect it via analytics and somebody moved the tracking code, the analytics tracking code out of the head, then your Search Console breaks. So you need to then add a different tracking code, like either a meta tracking code back into the head or whichever. So yes, you can break it if that way, but he wouldn't be able to access it. It would be broken. So he would know, that's for sure. If those, I don't have an answer for you. I mean, if those are indexed, they are appearing in your index status. If you pull down those pages, if they are appearing in your sitemap and your sitemap has obviously been updated, then I do not see a reason why it wouldn't be in search analytics. I don't see a reason.
The only thing I would probably check is if there's any crawl errors, if something is going wrong. But yeah, I don't know. It's the only thing I could probably, without actually seeing the site. No, I can't find anything.
Yeah, no, that's got me. I mean, if those are indexed, that in your sitemap, the sitemap's been done, it's actually in your Google index and Search Console, then there's no reason why they shouldn't be appearing in the search analytics. I literally have no answer for that one. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, let's move on from that to the next. Another one from Greg Christan in a question titled, is there a difference between mobile versus desktop crawl? Greg went on to ask, in Google Search Console, you have a desktop and mobile crawl error report. Can anyone explain why the numbers don't always match up? I have a site where I have over 10,000 404s in the desktop, but only 200 in mobile. I downloaded the chart and there are no duplicates. So does this have to do with how Google discovered the problem? Is there a difference with a mobile versus desktop crawl?
Yeah, there definitely is a difference between the desktop and mobile crawl. You'll also look at sometimes when it gives you, you'll also see the dates. Dates should have differed between when they found them. So even if it's the same page, you'll see in desktop it should be one date, and then in the mobile it should be showing you another date. You can also see that yeah, I mean, I can see exactly what you mean. I've just pulled up another site. I've got 155 in desktop, and in mobile only 20. And in fact, it only seems, yeah, it seems, yeah, I mean, if you look at the dates, different dates, yeah, so there certainly is a difference. I wonder if this will change when Google switches to a mobile first index. Will it flip around? This may. I don't know if you know, but is planning on switching to a mobile first index. So at that point, and I think the latest guesstimate on that was June of this year. And I'm assuming when that happens, then you're going to see a reverse here. You'll see desktop errors higher than, mobile errors higher because the mobile crawl is going to be the priority bot versus the desktop bot. And of course, search results are going to be based on mobile crawl rather than desktop crawl.
Yeah. I think also some of the sites are either mobile responsive or completely mobile, which means they are essentially two different versions of a website, which means there are different files that are getting called up, which means the crawler might be getting issues on one of them, whereas it doesn't get on the other simply because it's technically a different website. So that's probably what I can come up with at this stage, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we can call that a wrap. Greg, I hope you're satisfied with our response. All right, let's go to Corbin Van Stone. He said, what do you do to see which keywords are easy to rank for or not? I see Ellen Blue Eyes gave a nice answer in the SEO Questions group on Facebook. But I would say if you find a keyword which is easy to rank for, you really don't want
it. Okay, so there's different ways to approach this, right? In theory, Corbin, you already know what your keywords are. You've already built your site, okay? And in theory, those kind of keywords, if you built it, you know, by categories within, I don't know, whether it be a service or whatever you've built it, you know, these are my services I offer within this overall kind of framework. So whether you're a car mechanic, and then I offer MOTs and I offer servicing and I offer winter servicing and whatever. So in theory, your site already has words in it. Now, the reason I'm saying is you've got those keywords because there's no point in, let's just say there was a, you know, and I'll talk about some other tools, but let's just say you went into a tool, whichever it may be. So Alan said Moz and I say SEMrush, and I'll show you where in SEMrush to get that data. But so let's say you go in and you boom, boom, chuck in your site or throw in loads of keywords and you like, oh, right, that's an easy one. The point I'm trying to get here is even if these tools say that may be relatively easy based upon the competition, well, you still need to put that into your site. You know, you still need to work that into your site, in a, you know, either in a service page or in a particular, you know, you need to work at that. It's not like, so the point I'm getting to here is go into your analytics, right? So if you, your search console, webmaster tools, and if you go into your search analytics, you can actually filter by queries what, you know, different kind of like main things within your site. So you can filter by a service, so, you know, like singular kind of queries, and then you can see where you're positioning roughly. So if you're actually positioning for that kind of keyword, that can give you an indication. I mean, let's say the impression there is like 5 in a month and you're already on page, I don't know, you're already on position 10 or 12 or 15. You know, is it really worth, you know, turning everything on its head on your site to restructure it just for potential 10, 15 clicks in a month? You know, the point is you need to understand what it's doing and how it's doing it. But all your keywords that is associated with your site would already be in your webmaster tools. If you go into your search analytics and you just do the regular check with just queries, those are actually what Googlebot associates with your site, and then you can fine-tune it by actually adding specific queries. So if you're in London, you can add in London, and then you can see specific queries where Googlebot, you know, where your site has been, or Google finds your site. It may not be position 1, but it may find it fairly relevant, but you're only on, you know, position 20. So by filtering those queries, you can actually then get yourself an idea on what's going on in your site, where you already are, and then take those to, I don't know, Moz Keyword Explorer, or I use SEMrush, and in SEMrush itself, they've got some tools where you can traffic, you can look at different kind of things. There's a section in SEMrush, Keyword Analytics, and you can search on phrase or related keywords, and then you can drill down further into those in terms of competition. But a tool is only as good as what you intend to do with it or how you interpret it. You know, if there's 5 clicks in a month or 20 clicks in a month potentially, are you going to turn everything on its head just because it may be easy to target? You know, you've got to really just look at these things and weigh it up. So look at it, weigh it up, and take everything with a bit of, you know, just a bit of insight and forethinking.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's more about what do you need to rank for instead of asking the question what's easy to rank for, to be honest. It's like it comes down to what are you selling, what are you trying to get, what sort of traffic are you looking for. Then you'll look at which of the keywords would probably be my highest priority and then secondary priority and so forth. But yeah, like you said, it's a tool is a tool, and you know you can't always read the same data and expect the same answer in terms of sometimes things might have been done differently by design, even though it says it's not the right sort of keyword you should be chasing. So I really think you need to sit down and figure out what am I selling, what am I trying to get, what are the main keywords that I believe are there, and then also just look at the search results in Google to see what the other guys are doing, and then maybe use a tool like SEMrush to figure out what they're ranking for to give you a bit of insight.
Yeah. Bob, this is Rob Mars just joined us. Rob is an AdWords aficionado based in the Netherlands.
How are
Tim
you?
Capper just said he hadn't seen you for years, Rob.
Well, weeks perhaps.
Okay, let's. I've tweeted that, I think. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yes, I have. Okay, let's go. All right, here's one for Casey Marquis. It's titled Tracking Code Transition. Casey said, "Hey peeps, we have a subscriber with a question on analytics. If anyone can provide feedback on this, let me know and I'll pass your information along. We are working with a client who owns the domain foodtoursofamerica.com, but has been redirecting searches for that domain to each of their specific locations, toursdallas.net and foodtourslv.com. We just built them a new website through WP-Multisite, where the website uses foodtoursofamerica.com as the primary domain, and the locations are now subdirectories. foodtoursofamerica.com/Dallas and /Las Vegas. We are attempting to connect analytics before the official launch, but are worried we will lose the historical data from each location by connecting this site to the Food Tours of America Google Analytics that was previously not in use. The current Google Analytics code set up with this company is account Food Tours of America. I won't try to read that. If we embed the tracking code from the Food Tours of America account onto the site, do we lose all the data previously found under the Tours Dallas and Vegas Tours property? What is the best way to go about this transition?
Well, you won't lose the data. The data is in your account, will stay in your account. But you will have properties, you will have to compare them. So you will end up with at least I lost track, but quite a few properties. But he can easily install a new property on that new domain. Nothing will be lost.
Yep. So we had a bit of a glitch when our run list was being prepared. Normally we load the comments from the Facebook group, Dumb SEO Questions, but we missed out this time because there were some great answers on the Facebook group for this one.
Better than my answer.
There's nothing wrong with your answer, Rob. I'm just seeking to expand on it. All right, let me tweet that and we'll move on to the next. But if you're interested in the answer to this question, I suggest you do go to the Facebook group, Dumb SEO Questions. All right, this one from Jennifer Dowen Ho on how difficult is it to get Google Analytics set up. A client has a 6-year-old website. They are in the process of creating a new website from scratch and importing old blog posts over to the new site. Sadly, we don't have any Google Analytics data for them for the last 6 years. We may hit a delay in getting the new site launched. Talking to a new developer. Somebody is I'm getting feedback from someone. Question 1, how difficult is it to get Google Analytics set up? Question 2, if we have about a month before the new site launches, would it be worth it to get it set up on the old site to get some type of data? Thanks for answering my dumb question. There's no such thing as a dumb question, Jennifer.
Yeah, I think that should just as soon as possible, and it's obviously something, data is always good. So especially when they move to a new website, they can do some comparisons and maybe see a few patterns that are emerging. Otherwise, to implement it, I would probably suggest use Google Tag Manager to be sort of future-proof. But yeah, your developer should be able to do this in like 5 minutes, if not less.
Yep.
Well, give him an hour, including checking if everything is okay, and you could have data from the old site if you looked in your search console, and if you verify or have verified the site, you could have even some old data.
Or depending on the web server.
Although it's the easiest way if you have your analytics installed to verify through analytics, but if the analytics takes some time, just verify the old site and look at the given data there.
And if the data is really important, just use AWS stats or whatever is on the web server. Go through the logs, but most of the time people don't even need the old data anymore. If they haven't had it for 6 years, they never missed it, I think.
Well, perhaps that's why they are changing now.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next. This one from Neil Cheeseman. A search engine website has its search results turned into URLs. What he means is that the search engine results pages on sites like DuckDuckGo as showing those search engine results as a result to a question. Anyway, Neil said, seen this before and again today, where a search engine website has its search results turned into URLs, and those URLs have been indexed and come up as backlinks to those on the results page.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I haven't seen this.
Well, yeah, I've seen it. In fact, I saw it and mentioned it to Dan Petrovic, and he did an article on it. But it was Google indexing its own search page, its search engine results page, and it came up as a response on another one. If we, if you go to dejan.seo.com.au/Googleception. Anyway,
which one? What page?
DejanSEO.com.au/Googleception.
Googleception.
Yeah.
With an S or a C?
With a C. It's actually up on the screen there.
Oh, yeah. I love how Dan says Google has a tendency of penalizing my experiments.
Yeah, okay. All right, let's, I'll tweak that and we'll move on. Right, this one from Gregorian. And Gregor said, how do you submit XML files to all search engines at once without Yoast SEO?
Well, you need to obviously still create a sitemap. So depending on what your CMS is, it might auto-generate one or whatever the case may be. You don't need Yoast to do the sitemap. If you're working in WordPress, most themes will generate a sitemap for you. But then you still need to then create accounts. So Google is called Google Search Console, formerly Webmaster Tools. That's where you can submit your sitemap. Yandex has, Yandex, you can create an account. DuckDuckGo, you can create an account. Bing, they've all got their own version of Google Search Console, and then you open those accounts, you verify your site, same standard, verify your site, and you can submit your sitemap on all of them.
Well, but most of them will find your sitemap on themselves if you just call it sitemap XML.
Yeah, but if you wanted to submit them itself, like let's say you've just launched a new site, that's where you create your accounts and you verify your website with those whichever search engines you want to, specifically, and then you submit your sitemap.
Yeah.
All
right, let's, sorry, go ahead, Bob. Rob?
I said, but not at once. The question was, how do you do it at once? And the answer is, don't do it at once.
Yeah, it's not going to be at once. I suppose you could open up all the accounts in separate incognitos, and then once you've got those accounts all done and you've tested, you can, and then you add your sitemap to all of them at once. It's still not going to be instantaneous because you'll still need to go submit, open the next page, submit, open the next page, submit, open the next page, submit. So yeah, it could be all at once if you wanted to play that game.
Yeah, I think probably the best answer was given by Jacob Punton. I think it was Jacob. Or Steve Garancer on the SEO Questions group, and he said just add the URL to your robot's text and let them find it in their own time. All right, because generally the robot will check your robot's text before downloading any other page, and so when they open up the robot's text, they'll find the sitemap location and file name. Is anybody else getting feedback, or is it just me? Oh, well. Let me tweet that. Next question is from Jacob Punton, Speak of the Devil. He said, what do you do if you have two SEO clients in the same niche? I can't answer this, and it's hard enough for me to get two SEO clients, let alone two in the same niche. Anyway, he said, if they're in the same niche for the same keyword, for example, they both want to rank for electrical contractor in Kent. The first client is position 1 and the other client is position 2. However, the client in position 2 wants to rank position 1. How would I go about doing this? Obviously, I can put the position 2 client in position 1 because I know the SEO efforts for client 1 as I did their SEO. But then I have to explain to the first client why their ranking has dropped from 1 to 2. Cheers.
Yeah, Jacob, so I would never put myself in that position in the first place. I just wouldn't take on two clients that were competing for the same thing. I just wouldn't do it, mate.
No, I think the service location might be different, but the services themselves, you probably want to be very careful with that, because you're basically taking their money and then you're, favoring one of them and the other one's going to be pissed off with you. But sort of dissect it a little bit further back aside, the rankings wouldn't really matter that much. I mean, if you look at the traffic and the conversions, they probably have different websites anyway. So regardless of the actual ranking, which is not something you should be encouraging them to look at, you need to look at the actual traffic and the conversions, simply because that's where the value lies for them. And, mobile traffic, everything like the 10 blue lines on there are going to be different regardless if you're on one side of the street or the other. So I'd forget about ranking. Personally, that's what I do.
He should get a third client, the same niche, and then he's a specialist, an SEO specialist in that niche. And he shouldn't guarantee first places. As Bob said, it's traffic and profits that count.
The thing is, look, in a local based situation, 9 times out of 10, it's their maps positioning generates most referral traffic anyway, and inquiries. But you're still playing with a 3-pack, and in a 3-pack there's only 3, and I wouldn't have put myself in that position. for an area and one niche kind of service, because ultimately someone's paid you for something, and even if client one, stops using your service and client two comes along, you're still displacing client one who paid you for that work to put him in that position. Essentially.
Yeah, it's not a good place to be in, because you're using information that you have gained from client one because you have been contracted to do something. And you're using that information not only to the benefit of client two, a third party, but let's say, ranking does matter in this instance, and that's what the client wanted. You're using the information that you have obtained through the contract to not only to the benefit of this third party, but to the detriment of the principal. And I think that's a pretty bad place to be in. It appears like a conflict of interest. It certainly appears like one. If you're client one or client two, you'd think that, hey, why are you working for both of us? And because there is commercially sensitive information involved, I think there is an actual conflict of interest, and you shouldn't really be placing yourself in that kind of situation.
Yep. Okay. Will we call that the answer to that question? I'm going to count that as a vote for yes. Next one from Adam Galagos. And Google is indexing unused default CMS pages. Adam wants to know, what is the best practice if Google is indexing unused default pages, /blog, or old pages that no longer serve a purpose? Should I delete pages, redirect them, or submit a new sitemap?
I would probably delete anything that's default and never gets useful. If it's a page that had some, incoming links at one stage, do a redirect. Otherwise, if it's literally like a redundant page, just clean it up. Yeah, new sitemap.
If they are already indexed, I would first index them for a short period before I remove them.
Why?
Because if they are removed, it can take quite a long time before they are actually completely removed from the SERPs.
Okay.
But why would they appear anyway in the first place? I mean, what kind of people will be asking what kind of questions to trigger that default page? I mean, in that sense, it's not really about people arriving through that page, I suppose, because if it's default page, if it doesn't really have too much content on it, there's no reason that it would appear for most searches, right?
True.
So it's more about, if you like, resources, in the sense it's probably budget, as it were, inverted commas. So yeah, I mean, if it's unused, remove it, and in due course it will be removed. And I don't think I would worry too much about it.
But we can at least agree that submitting a new sitemap won't do anything.
I think we can all agree on that. If it's gone, put 410 instead of 44, but it really wouldn't change that much, right?
Yeah, well, I think, none of us can ever be absolutely certain that a page has no backlinks. A page might have backlinks, but not appear in Majestic or in any of the crawlers.
You should be able to see in the search console if it's his own website. Chances are it's there, but
But I mean, see, even in the Search Console, though, Bob, you'd agree that they don't give everything; they only give some. So, yeah, to my mind, yeah, it's all. I mean, regular expressions make it easy to cover all these things. I just think it's good housekeeping, to try and retain any value that's there. Anyway, let's tweet this one and move on. Neil Cheeseman, he said, I wonder if there is a conflict somewhere. He said for a particular website in Google, which happened to be Find Dog Portraits or something like that, Pet Portraits or something. I entered the website domain name, https://www.etc. And I get a response back from Google, did you mean .etc. Anyway, this one turned out to be a problem. He was confusing Google by having conditional redirects in his HT-access, and they were doing it in 2 hops when one would do, and that also cured the issue that he had with these search engine results pages still showing some of the non-HTTPS pages still in the index. Anyway, let's move on from there. Alan Blue Eyes agreed with me. It's always nice to have Alan agree with you. All right, let's move on.
That doesn't happen a lot, does it?
Pardon?
That doesn't happen a lot.
All right, Neil Cheeseman said, do mentions, brackets buzz, on social media help directly with rankings on search engine result pages?
No.
Good on you, Mesa.
Someone had to say it.
You kind of got to look at this at if something is doing well socially, it tends to be something that has found a sweet spot, whether it be something that's going on at the time or it's hit a sweet spot. And you'll find that if it's doing well socially, and people move through to the obviously if it's the page in the site, that gets read well and it gets visited. Ultimately, from that, people potentially share it a bit more, etc., and the traffic and blah blah blah. But it's it's serving a purpose at that particular point in time, and it's hit a sweet spot with readers or users, and and obviously if it's doing well, it's provided something that either well structured or the content's great or whatever the case may be. And Googlebot also kind of picks up on that, not necessarily the visitors coming to it, but if something's good and well crafted, it's obviously something that's unique or new. So it would tend to be positioned fairly well, and over time, and people do share it out and link to it more, etc., whether that be socially or even in other mentions, yes, it does better. But if you flip that onto the flip side and just like said, right, so I'm going to pay for a load of likes or a load of shares or a load of whatever on a particular page in the site, it's just not really going to go anywhere, because the actual sweet spot, you know, that actual sweet spot of people finding it nice, unique, or, you know, useful at that particular point in time is not going to benefit it in that sense. Because if the users were coming through it from socially and reading the page or the article or looking at the site, with whatever it may be that you were sharing or you paid for those shares, you know, they may just look at it and go, thanks, but no thanks, and they're off. They might have just read the first few lines and yeah, whatever, and gone. That's if they even went there in the first place. So you've kind of got to look at the journey behind it. But as Massa said, the actual like a mention in social is not going to do anything for the actual positions in search results. But if something is doing really well socially, it's obviously for a reason, and it's hit that kind of sweet spot, which ultimately should work back to the site. And if that site, obviously, you know, it's unique, it's creating something useful, and over time people are sharing it, check this page out, or, you know, depending if it's really great, you know, and might even get a mention in the Daily Mail, because the Daily Mail loves crawling Reddit and stuff like that, and they'll love quoting stupid things, you know, so you might even get some newspaper mentions, and then, you know, it's seen as a good source, and then of course your positions improve over time on that particular page. But it still goes back to the whole thing of, if you're just getting people to look at it and, right, there's a bit of a buzz, no, it doesn't translate into indirectly into a position in search.
And I would like to add, especially to Jim, who asks, but is traffic arriving from sources other than paid or organic search a ranking factor? Well, that can be a ranking factor, because Google doesn't see it.
Say that again.
It can't be a ranking factor because Google doesn't see it.
Google runs public DNS.
Yeah.
So they would know, they would be able to calculate from public DNS how much traffic is going to a particular site. They also redirect every result back to into the site and used a JavaScript redirect to send it on to the result. So they'd be recording every user IP. Then I think Google would know very well.
At least they won't use your analytics data.
No, they won't do that. No, I totally agree. But also ISPs sell you know, traffic, user traffic. I mean, they wouldn't know per person, but they'd certainly know per percentage of total viewership. I mean, this is Google we're talking about.
With a newly built data center in the Netherlands.
Pardon?
With the new data center in the Netherlands. They are building that.
Okay. All right, Kyle Arnold, anyone know an easy way to add schema to a Shopify site without using a paid app, or is it possible at all?
Well, I just had to Google this one, and there's a good page on Quora.com that actually has the information. It is possible. You just need to know a little bit of coding. But I mean, if you've got an e-commerce store and there's an actual paid app, which will cost you probably $5, $10, $20 a month, maybe, depending on Shopify, I would probably just invest that and be done with it, to be honest.
Yeah. Bob, if you wanted to add that URL on Quora onto your run list, there's a means to do that, and that will appear on the page on SEOquestions.com. All right, let's tweet this and move on. Neil Cheeseman again. How do Bing and Google differ in their crawling of websites? Does anyone know, in layman's terms, how Bing and Google differ in their crawling of websites? As it happens from time to time that Google will have a problem with the crawling and interpretation of the technical aspect of a website, but Bing won't. There's somebody on the... You go ahead, Bob.
So the only difference that I noticed a few weeks ago, actually just coincidental with this question, is that Bing hit a brand new website up on robots.txt, whereas Google just immediately went off to the index and straight through it. As in, that was, the robots was not the first page they touched versus Bing, which I thought was very polite.
Yeah, it happens. Anybody else? Neil, that's all we have, but I mean, I think that is all. All right, let's go and see the next one. Oops, it's thank you for watching time. We thank you for being interested in what we do, because your interest makes what we do worthwhile, and we thank you for that very much. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again.